This is part one of a World War II hero in our family, Joe Otto Long, who fought with 3 different nations and with celebrities as well. As an 8th Air Force Flying Fortress gunner, former Staff Sergeant Joe Long Jr. earned Distinguished Flying Cross for meritorious service on more than 1 score of combat missions. He also received the Air Medal with 3 oak clusters. Actually, they're called oak leaf clusters, the Bronze Star and the Silver Star. But really, that's getting ahead of the story here. Long had joined the fight against Adolf Hitler a year and a half before the United States entered the war. The Canadians presented him with 4 medals, one of them 10 times, and the Queen of England awarded him the George Medal and a knighthood for his service to the House of Essex. Honorably discharged from the Royal Canadian Air Force in September 1942, he enlisted in the U.S. Army and was stationed in London for 9 months as a military policeman. 2 weeks of that time he spent guarding the back end of the tunnel that housed General Dwight David Eisenhower and his staff. The tunnel was 150 feet underground as the London Blitz was occurring above ground. In May 1943, he applied for transfer, went to the U.S. Army Air Force Aerial Gunner Training School in England. He joined the 535th Bomb Group in August 1943 and was assigned to the Fighting Fortress crew as a ball turret gunner. He flew most of his 25 missions in the bomber called Chug-a-Lug, which was the lead ship of the formation. That, of course, was after Tinker Toy was shot. It was a Jinx plane, Long said. He goes on to say it had been used in Hollywood and then sold to the English, and the English gave it to us. The squadron commander, Major Ingerhut, named it after his niece. After that, any time the plane went up, it brought back a dead man. We never missed. And I liked that plane, he said. I was the only one who liked that plane. No one else wanted it. Clark Gable and Jimmy Stewart, 2 of the reigning stars in Hollywood at the time, served in Long's heavy bomber group during the war. The rank and file had no contact with Gable, who flew as a tail gunner, surrounded by 25 escort planes. The only tail gunner with the rank and file first star general. He returned to Hollywood after only 5 missions. Lieutenant Stewart was another story. He enlisted and loved hanging out with the guys. His letters from Hollywood girls were delivered by mistake to another soldier named Stewart and shared with the pack, but he didn't mind, and when D-Day came, Jimmy Stewart made the push against the Germans. Long wasn't allowed to. By that time, Hitler had a $25,000 bond on his head. The orders were to shoot him because he already invaded German-controlled territory twice. One of the news articles of the day describes Joe as a guardian of English orphans. On Easter Sunday, 1941, a buddy suggested they go to church. They jumped the fence and were on their way when they saw a group of small children emerge from a forest, barefoot and naked, in a heavily land-mined area. The children were picking flowers that they tried to give the soldiers. Some were so young that they did not even know how to talk. And those who did talk could provide no information. Townspeople informed the soldiers that 2 orphanages had been hit during the night in a bombing raid. The soldiers took care of the orphans and eventually placed them in a village that served as a refuge for English people over the age of 80. The story had a heartbreaking ending, however. The German advance party wiped out the entire town along with all the orphans. Joe to this day is heartbroken over this. horrendous wartime atrocity and remembers the orphans fondly, as he wanted to bring them to the States for adoption. The upcoming parts 2 to 6 of these wartime stories will be told in Joe's own voice, recorded by a Lawton Constitution reporter at the time. And please take time to listen, and I will get these up as quickly as possible. Thank you for listening.